lights out in Thailand on Saturday, and it was the start of the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup for 2016. A really competitive grid for this third season in the series. 23 riders in total, 3 of them are wild cards, but in total 16 rookies and just 7 continuing from last year. There were some lurid moments along the way with the likes of number 9, Ai Agura, all out of shape in the early stages of the race, but he soon fought back to be dicing for the lead once again. It was the magnificent 7 at the front here at the Chang International Circuit, with Andy Izdihar, number 23, certainly one of the favourites, having been quick all weekend long and started on pole position. Until with just a few minutes left in the race, it all went pear-shaped at turn 12. So with Izdihar gone, 7 became 6, and this was the fight going into the last lap of the race. With number 9 again, Japanese hotshot Ai Agura at the front of the pack. Number 12 is Yamanaka and was attacking, but it would be Ai Agura who came through to win the first race of the season, while Somkiat Chantra ran wide and was demoted from 2nd to 4th position for finishing the race after that manoeuvre. Now we stand by for race 2. Good afternoon, it's Sunday, it's 10 to 1 local time. Greg Haynes with you, Steve English alongside us, and welcome to the opening round of the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup for 2016. As we just saw in the highlights there, race 1 was energetic, to put it very mildly indeed, yesterday. And now we go into race 2. Some are looking up to make lost ground, the likes of Andy Izdihar, who starts on pole position once again by virtue of his great performance in the short half-an-hour qualifying session yesterday. Can he now make up for that significant loss of championship points? Here's how they finished that first race. Ai Agura taking the first win of the season and the second in his short Asia Talent Cup career. Jerry Salim second for Indonesia, ahead of another Japanese rider in Yamanaka. Chantra won here last year and finished in the top 5, as did Masaki. Kuni is a Japanese newcomer. Kawasaki 7th from Arden Shah, and Kanonsu, the first of Keenan Sofoglu's protégés, was 9th. Tom Edwards completed the top 10 for Australia. Another Sofoglu protégé, Denis Onsu, 11th. Idham Khairuddin 12 from Sugawara, Zapata and Utama completing the championship points. Others were less fortunate, and the likes of number 23, Andy Izdihar, who starts on pole position, will now be aiming for victory, having lost a potential 25 points yesterday. So the Asia Talent Cup moves into its third season. All of these riders on Moto3 machines supplied by Honda. Equal machinery and equal opportunity. They've all come up through the ranks. They've submitted their names on AsiaTalentCup.com. They've gone through the selection event at the Chang International Circuit, assisted all the way by the likes of Alberto Puig and Hiroshi Ayama. And now Steve English, Andy Izdihar is looking to make up lost ground. He lost, as I've already said, a potential 25 points yesterday. He cannot afford for that to happen again.
Definitely, Greg. We saw yesterday Izdihar, he was really strong for pretty much all the race. He was leading for a long period. Starting from pole, he's been quick all weekend, but now he needs to actually pick up his championship points. Losing those 25 points, it could well prove crucial later in the year. We saw yesterday guys like Agura really strong as the race progressed, and that's what Izdihar is up against for today and then for the rest of the championship. When you look at the calendar, there's not an awful lot of rounds, Greg, so any of these drop points really could come back to bite you.
And it came back to bite Somkiat Chantra last year, because he had a crash here in training just before the Sepang round mid-season, broke a leg and was out for the rest of the season. He had actually finished on the podium 3 times in the first 4 races, and you heard there a huge cheer from the Thai crowd as Chantra was shown on the big screen there in the background. Here's Ryusai Yamanaka, and he finished up there yesterday. A very strong result for him. He started 3rd on the grid. He finished 3rd in the race, and he's one of only 7 riders who goes through into this season having previously raced in the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup. Made his debut at the start of last season, 15th overall, but did score points in 9 of the 12 races. And really came good at Zhuhai in China when he finished 6th. So the first row is Izdihar, Chantra, Yamanaka. Here's Jerry Salim, very popular character in the Asia Talent Cup here, and he's from Indonesia. He will be lining up 4th on the grid. And just to remind you of yesterday's results, Agura won from Salim, Yamanaka, Chantra and Masaki. Let's talk very quickly though, Steve, about Sobkat Chantra. He's the man who starts in this race 2nd on the grid. He was demoted yesterday. This man, Agura, was the one who came through to win, and just behind him, Chantra finished 2nd, but he had gone off the track at the last corner, and the race direction here at Chang decided to drop him down 2 positions to 4th place.
Yeah, Chantra, he ran wide at the last corner, to say, Greg, and what would have happened in that kind of instance is race control would have looked at it and said he was 4th heading into the corner, so that we'll just demote him back to where he would have been if he hadn't ran off the track. So I think he got quite lucky just to only be penalised like that. It could have been much more severe for him. He could have had a crash. And just to be able to pick up his points, it's still important. He's been able to get 13 points for the championship, so it still puts him in a relatively strong position. And we saw it all weekend. He's been fast, but we're into a new season now, and this is where guys in their 2nd year have a big advantage, and just that extra experience can see people really make a big step forward from one year to the next.
So Yuki Kuni there, the Japanese newcomer, he starts 6th on the grid. Very strong yesterday, was up there with the leading group for the whole race. He's come through relatively inexperienced, as are all of the riders in this field, but he's only 12 years of age, finished 2nd in the Motegi Road Race Championship last year, and actually won the Tsukuba Road Race Championship over in Japan. So Kuni starts 6th on the grid. Masaki here starts 7th on the grid, and he was a real front runner in this series last year. Actually finished 3rd overall behind Ayumu Sasaki and Takuma Kaniname. Kaniname, incidentally, no longer in the Asia Talent Cup. He finished 3rd overall in 2014, 2nd overall in 2015. But Alberto Puig has a bit of an unwritten rule which suggests that if you haven't really come good and won the title by the end of your 2nd season, perhaps it's time to move on. Now, this is slightly confusing because this man's name is Kawasaki. That's his surname. He's from Japan. It is the Japanese newcomer, Shogo Kawasaki, 13 years of age, but of course they're all riding Honda, so it's a slightly confusing situation. We have a Kawasaki on a Honda. Just behind him is Ardian Shah, who completes the 3rd row of the grid. Here he is then, Irfan Ardian Shah from Indonesia. 8 different nationalities on this grid, and 5 of them are from Indonesia. 6 from Japan, 5 from Indonesia, 3 Turkish riders, 2 Thai riders, and they've got huge support here at this sellout Chang International Circuit. 2 from Malaysia, 1 from Australia, China, and also an Indian rider for the first time in the Shed Advance Asia Talent Cup. That is Ahmed Yansin, the 19-year-old, and he's starting a little bit further down the grid in 19th position. 21 of them then in total have actually qualified to start the race. All the way down to the back of the grid we have the Chinese rider Law Chun Kit, to give him his full name. He'll be starting down there in 21st place. So Steve, it's the same race distance as yesterday, i.e. 16 laps, just under 75 kilometres, 45 miles of race distance. They've all had 24 hours or so to get to grips with the track conditions, but track conditions will be different now. The sun's been beating down on us all this morning here in Buriram. It's very hot, very sticky, very humid out there, and as the warm-up lap gets underway, this is their first real chance at close to racing speeds to have a look at the track conditions here this afternoon, just coming up to 1 o'clock local time.
An awful lot warmer today, Greg, as I said. There was no clouds in the sky this morning. The sun was able to come through pretty much unimpeded, and we've had a very hot track surface already today. Yesterday, and at most tracks, whenever we get to 45, 46 degrees track temperature, you tend to get an awful lot of grease on the surface, and that's going to play into the hands of some of the more experienced guys. They'll know what to expect from these bikes in these kind of conditions. But into turn 3, we're seeing everyone. Yesterday they took wide sweeping lines, trying to stay on the outside as much as possible and then get the bike upright on the exit just to power down towards the turn 4. But in the race now, with having a bit more experience for these guys, having seen what happened yesterday, we might see them actually try and be a bit more aggressive, because I think we were both surprised yesterday at how few incidents there were. I really expected lap 1 to have 4 or 5 guys just really attack each other and maybe come together of some sort of an incident, but everyone actually had a really cool head and didn't attack one another. So it'll be interesting to see if that's still the case today, or whether guys are now going to push a little bit harder, knowing a bit more about what to expect.
And of course, Alberto Puig would have spoken to the riders between yesterday's race and this one as we watch the number 22 rider just making his way through the field there. Don't forget, they do not need to remain in grid order, just as is the case with World Superbike, which supports this race this weekend. That was Yansin, number 22, the Indian rider who starts down on the back row of the grid, row 7. But Alberto Puig would have spoken to the rider, Steve, and just suggested perhaps a change in tactics. Of course, Alberto, an extremely experienced man himself, but the likes of Andy Izdihar in particular, the number 23 rider who starts on pole position, he's going to have to surely change his strategy a little bit. He's need to adapt to the situation. He cannot afford another non-finish because he is suspected to be a very strong title contender this season.
I doubt he'd really change his approach too much. He was in the lead group for the entire race. He led probably the most laps yesterday as well, so he put himself in a good position to take the win. But obviously he had his crash, so for that one lap he made his mistake. He got punished for it, but I doubt that he'll be spending the last 24 hours thinking in terms of, I need to change everything about my approach. You're not going to break away in this race. You just look to be in the right position when we get into the last 2-3 laps to be able to try and attack other guys. Izdihar yesterday led from pretty much third distance until the last couple of laps, and whenever you put yourself in that position, maybe he'll think in terms of sitting back in the pack now and just watching what other people are doing.
Yeah, let's see what he does. You can see the liveries are all identical, but there are some differences to the crash helmets, the flags of the nations on the crash helmets as well. We're away then for race 2 of the Asia Talent Cup in 2016. Away they go, and Izdihar's got it wrong, exactly like Michael van der Mark in the World Superbike race yesterday, and that was a big wheelie for the Indonesian. Unbelievably, he's still in the lead of the race as they get down to turn 1. How on earth did Andy Izdihar get away with that one? That was not a great start, but he's still leading the pack as they come down through the turn 2 kink for the first time, and then it's very, very heavy braking into the right-hander at turn 2. Look at the effect of the slipstream here in Thailand. Number 4, Jerry Salim, hits the front. Izdihar just being sensible, as you've already suggested, Steve. He's dropped down now into 5th position, but there's no need to panic. We see groups time and time again, and look, already one of the riders running out wide, coming through the right-hander, and that was indeed Ai Agura, the winner of yesterday's race. But a clean start, all credit to all of them, as they stream their way down to turn 4 for the first time. It's number 12 now in the lead. That is Yamanaka, and don't forget, he finished on the podium yesterday.
And we saw, Greg, just on the run from turn 1 to turn 2, even long before we get towards the braking zone, Jerry Salim was able to get through. So you can see just the effect of that slipstream. Even probably halfway down the straight, he was already making his move to get into the lead.
And Izdihar got off very lightly there, you have to say, don't you? Having wheelied off the line initially, I was expecting him to go backwards, but he retained the lead at that time.
It's a short run towards turn 1, and he still was able to carry his momentum. So even with making not quite a perfect getaway, he was able just to still hold on to the lead. But it was Ai Agura that ran wide now again. We saw him try and take a tighter line in towards turn 3 into the hairpin just to try and make an overtaking move, but he had to step the bike up a little bit and just run towards the exit just to avoid crashing.
There's quite a few riders running wide on this opening lap here in Thailand. They've removed most of the artificial grass now from around the outside of the corners on this 5.5 kilometre layout. Look how tight it gets though, down into turn 12. Not all riders' favourite corner. We've seen incidents through there in the past, and of course we saw the one yesterday as well when Izdihar went down just a few laps from the end.
And we saw Cooney on the number 5 bike really tentative into that corner, lost a couple of places just from not being willing to push as hard as he could.
Great move there from Chantry. He was trying to get the drive all the way around the outside of that first corner, but it's Yamanaka in the lead. Salim is in second position. Somkiat Chantry at the moment sat there on the number 18 bike in third. They brake again. Very, very heavy under brakes here for the right-hander of turn 3. Slowest corner on the circuit. They're braking right down there now, all the way down through the box. And these bikes, they're Moto3 machines, they're Honda motorcycles, all of them, and they carry tremendous corner speed. And look at the corner speed they'll be carrying now as they come down to the fastest corner on the circuit, over the brow of the hill, down into turn 4, right in front of that main grandstand.
And you can see already, Greg, there's a different approach from some of the guys. They are taking a different line in towards turn 3, trying to be a bit more aggressive and make an overtaking move. Yesterday, we didn't really see too many incidents down there, but now the guys think that they're able to actually use that new asphalt and use it just to try and create an overtaking opportunity for themselves.
This is a group beginning to break away here from the rest of the pack. You're watching the first 8 riders locked together, all the way down to Kuni, who you were just speaking about, Steve, into the last corner. He's at the back of this pack, the number 5 bike, and look how quickly, in fact, I apologise, it's 9 riders, because Arjun Shah is in there as well. So at the moment you're watching the first 9 riders, this gaggle at the front of the second race of the season for the Asia Talent Cup in 2016. What's happening further back? Well, Onsu, and that is Denis Onsu, leading the charge there in 10th position. Niamsa Consequel is 11th from Zapata. The other Onsu brother, that's Kan, they're twins actually. Sugawara is 14th, and Utama at the moment down in 15th position, but would be on target for a championship point. This then is the inside look of that very, very difficult turn 12, and it's number 12 with the advantage, Yamanaka. Remember, he finished yesterday's race third, from third on the grid. He started this race third. They all started in the same positions as they did yesterday. They now come into lap 3. Now they're all sizing each other up, and look at the traction once again that Chantra has coming through turn 1.
We're seeing Chantra just take a slightly different line, and he's able to get in the gas a lot earlier than everyone else, pick up that drive grip, keep his rolling speed, get his momentum, and that's where he's been able to, the last 2 laps, really make a good effort to try and take the lead. But it also looks like he's just sitting back slightly, just waiting for a better opportunity, waiting for it later in the race. Change of place there for third as well, with Izdihar sliding through into turn 3.
Yes, that was up the inside of Jerry Salim. Very strong and confident move there from Andy Izdihar. And here's a good example now of the toe as you come down the back straight, parallel with the other one, into the left-hander of turn 4. So let's just take stock of what's actually going on here on lap 3 of 16 with this race. Still 13 to go when they next cross the line. They now come into the second section up the inside. That's Ayagura, and he's got championship to think about here. He's leading it, having won the race yesterday. He had already won a race, remember, last year in China. 3 podiums in total last season. So he's up to 4 rostrums in total now, and Agura is beginning to cut through.
Yesterday we saw just how aggressive Agura is as well, Greg. So he was exciting to watch yesterday, and it looks like he's bringing that same approach today. We saw him yo-yo through that lead group yesterday, fall to the back and just work his way back to the front, and it looks like he's just trying to take the same approach today. With these kind of races, with everyone having 1 year experience at the most, it is a case of if you're able to get to the front, you can keep your way out of a lot of the trouble that will happen in the middle of a pack.
Here's turn 12, number 2 at the inside this time. That's Masaki. He's having a real go. That's Izdihar right in the mix. Kuni, the Japanese rider, on the right-hand side of your screen. Number 5. That's the biggest lead we've seen all weekend long by the looks of things. That's Chantra setting the fastest lap of the race on that lap and pulls out a 7/10 of a second gap over Yamanaka. Salim is 3rd. Agura is 4th. Masaki, Izdihar, Kuni, Kawasaki is in 8th position from Ardian Shah, and then Dennis Onku completing the top 10 at the moment. But this is what we've been talking about. Incidentally, you can see the groups down the left-hand side of your screen. So there's 2 distinct groups at the moment, although Chantra's beginning to break away on lap 4. You would not imagine he's going to disappear off up the road. That hardly ever happens in the Asia Talent Cup. But let's see how this race unfolds over the next few laps. Out of 3, down towards 4. That's a very, very handy advantage now for Chantran. Don't forget he set the fastest lap on the last lap. It was a 1:48.874. How does that compare to the last lap of yesterday's race? The fastest lap, I should say, was a 1:48.1 for Chantran yesterday. So they're 7/10 of a second slower at the moment than the fastest lap in yesterday's race. And not for the first time, Agura's really enjoying this left-hander of turn 5. Steams up the inside, and the winner of yesterday's race is running confidently now in 3rd position. Next target is Yamanaka, number 12. Right behind him is Jerry Salim, number 4. But look at the lead, Steve, on lap 4 for Somkiat Chantra. It's almost a full second now. There it is, confirmed at the bottom of the screen.
Really impressive from Chantra. And we saw again, turn 1, he was able to take his line and really pull out a gap again. And even with the slipstream, the guys behind him, he could maintain his 7/10
in
lap for a second.
Incident, Steve. Sorry to cut across you, but somebody high-sided big time there, coming out of the right-hander of turn 9 and into 10. And there is the rider who's gone down. Which number is that? It's number 6 out of the race. That's Irfan Adin Shah, the Indonesian 16-year-old. Well, at least he's walking away, but that was a big one. Let's have a look. Look at the back of the picture. On the left, there he goes. That was a big, big high side out of the race. It happened at turn 9. He ended up on the inside of turn 10.
We've actually seen him take a slightly different line to some of the other guys during the race already. We saw him take a bit more of a wide approach into the corner, so taking that slightly offline or slightly different line, maybe there's a bit of dust on the track there as well, and it just means whenever he gasses up the bike, you can have an incident like that. But a real shame for him, because he had actually been running quite well and looked like he had the potential to stay within this lead group.
Warning to everybody then on lap 4 of this race, these things can happen, and that's something Alberto Puig insists to all of these riders. They've trained on Honda underbones at this karting track. He says these are no longer scooters, these are racing motorcycles. You've got to be careful.
And you can see already, Greg, Chantra's checked out. He's a 2.5 clear of the rest of the field, and all these guys are now fighting with one another, and that's what's going to possibly allow him to make that break. Last year in Moto3 we saw Danny Kent do it an awful lot for his runaway wins. It was guys in 2nd, 3rd, 4th fighting with each other rather than working together to try and get back towards the race leader.
Yes, and Agura fully aware of that situation. Look what's happened now. He's cut through. He's in front of Yamanaka. He's in front of Masaki and Izdihar. Agura is second. He can see Chantra disappearing off up the road. That's what 1.6 seconds looks like. Has Agura made any inroads into Chantra, I wonder, by the end of this lap? There'll still be 11 to go when they next cross the line. Here's the situation then. 5 laps ago at the start of the race, there was a wheelie there for Izdihar. There he is, number 23, wheeling off pole position, just like what Michael Vandermark did in the World Superbike race here yesterday on his very different Honda, down into turn 1, and Izdihar maintained the lead. Around the outside there went number 7, that was Dennis Onsu. This was the scene down into turn 3 for the first time, and what a shot that is. Just sums up the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup. Look at all the difference in lines. You can see the difference there in asphalt as well. It's another challenge for them all this weekend. Back live, lap 6 of 16, 11 to go. Chantra's lead is now up to 2 seconds, but it was the personal best lap of the race so far for Ai Agura, who is in second position. Personal best also for Masaki, who is third, and now attacking Agura as we come down through the kink of turn 2. It's going to be 3 abreast. We saw even 4, 5 abreast at this part of track this time last year. Yamanaka has taken one, and look at that, Izdihar's coming up the inside. He's going to try and do all 3 of them in one move. Marvellous stuff. Izdihar jumps up from 5th to 2nd in one fell swoop. He means business. That was a great move then from the Indonesian, and he's gone from 5th to 2nd. Who's going to be the first to try and hunt down Chantra? The question here, though, surely, is that they need to work together. There's no point battling like this, because Chantra's lead is now up to 2.1 seconds.
Every time that these guys keep fighting with one another, it just lets Chantra open up another tenth or a couple of tenths coming in. And we can see now Izdihar diving down the inside, basically forcing everyone else to step up their bike a little bit and make sure that they avoid a crash. Really aggressive riding there from Izdihar.
Fantastic move from Andy Izdihar, and don't forget, he's the rider who started on pole position. You wouldn't imagine he'll be doing anything too silly in this race, bearing in mind he crashed out yesterday and lost that potential 25 championship points. Oh, and he's running wide and then cutting back to the inside line, a very novel line from Izdihar into the right hand of turn 9. He's actually dropped, as you can see for yourselves, behind Ai Agura, and now he's trying all sorts of ways to get back through again.
We saw Izdihar and Agura actually try that line yesterday as well, running out over the curb and basically trying to straight line in towards the apex. Misaki now up to 3rd as well. And yesterday we saw Misaki have quite good pace, but whenever push came to shove at the end of the race, he couldn't quite keep the same speed as the rest of the guys.
Remember, Masaki was involved in a last lap tangle at Sepang alongside the World Superbike race meeting in the middle of last season, so he needs to be extra careful as well. Another fastest lap of the race for this man, Somkiat Chantra, 1:47 now, 9:46. His lead is almost 3 seconds over Ai Agura. Checked out being the understatement of the century. He's disappeared off up the road and is soon going to be a small dot on the horizon. If the others don't start working together, it might even now be down to a case of only some sort of problem or mistake will stop this man Chantra from winning this race. He did win here in race 1 last year and then retired with a crash in race 2 over at turn 5. Back down the straight we're coming. These guys might be getting frustrated now. Agura, Masaki, Izdihar, Yamanaka, they've potentially blown their chances of winning this race, and there's no point in overtaking each other and overhauling one another, because Chantra is now 3 seconds up the road.
Well, they're not going to catch Chantra now, no. So they're just going to have a fight for second within themselves. Chantra 3.2 seconds up the road now, so he's just consistently able to eke out a couple of tenths. Even with that first sector where the other guys have a slipstream, Chantra was still able to eke out half a tenth.
But Steve, another challenge these riders are going to have to encounter as well is leading on your own, because that can be even more difficult sometimes, can't it? When you're battling with other people, you're concentrating on attacking and defending at the same time. There's almost no reference around you when you're on your own, and he's still got another 9 laps to go, has Chantra, when he next crosses the line. For now, it's going very well indeed. He's 3 seconds ahead of this group. There we are, then that's what 3.1 seconds looks like in visual terms. 2 is Masaki, 9 is Agura, 23 is Andy Izdihar, and at number 12 is Ryusai Yamanaka, and there he is, right up underneath the rear wheel of Izdihar as they come through to start lap 8 of 16, 9 to go, half race distance then at the end of this one, and this is almost breaking up now into 2 individual groups as well. This is 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Then you have 8 tenths of a second back to Kane, who is 6th, Salim is 7th, Kawasaki is 8th, Niemsa Consiglor then a further 15 seconds down the road in 9th place from Dennis Onsu, Tom Edwards, Sugawara, Zapata, Kanonsu is down in 14th, then Idaham Khairuddin And running wide this time is Masaki. That went very wrong indeed, down into the hairpin, and the others are coming through on him as well. So that group of 4 becomes 3, and Masaki now finally finds himself right at the back of the pack. That did not work out at all well. Side by side with Kawasaki down into the left-hander of turn 4, but that just goes to show, Steve, get it wrong at that hairpin, and you are dead meat. And he's right to the back of the pack now.
Definitely, Greg. You saw there, Masaki, he just runs a little bit wide on the way in, and it just forces him to have to stand up the bike and avoid his crash. So he runs out wide and he loses an awful lot of time, falls back to the back of this group. And obviously now we've got these 3 guys, they've broken clear of the 4 behind. And it's actually with the Masaki, Jerry Salim, there's fast guys in that second group if they can work together.
Chandra already in the groove now up front. It was a 48.1, the fastest lap yesterday. Now it's a 47.9, so 2 tenths quicker than yesterday. And he's just gone 4 seconds ahead of this group, battling for second place. Incidentally, all of the riders you can see on screen at the moment, all of this lot, just put in their personal best laps of the race last time round. But what a scrap this is going on here. 4-second position, and Andy Izdihar, oh, it's getting very, very tight. That was Agurin Yamanaka almost touching. Yamanaka runs out wide. All of the others say thank you very much. Kuni has now come through to move up into 4th position, and Yamanaka is the latest to lose positions. That's the problem. If you run wide in the Asia Talent Cup, you don't just lose 1 or 2 positions, you can easily lose 7 or 8, as we're seeing in this race. There's incidentally another magnificent group battling as they come down the start-finish straight now. I'm looking out of the window. Over the line they come. I'm just counting the group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 riders all locked together further back in the pack. Meantime then, this is the mistake we've just seen. Yamanaka, he tried the high line, Steve, and there was no grip there, was there? No grip at all.
Well, he just put his bike in a position where he's got nowhere to go, and that comes with experience for him. And obviously a lot of these guys, they've got 1-2 years in this class, and when you don't have that experience, it's easy just to get sucked into an incident like that. Obviously enough, he loses a couple of places, but we're at half race distance. He's still got plenty of time to get back up into the lead of this second group.
Look at this, talking of the lead of this second group, the rider who most impressed me, I have to say, yesterday, Yuki Kunai, the Japanese newcomer, the 13-year-old, started the race on the grid in 6th position, so a very strong grid position for him on his first outing, finished in 6th, and the number 5 rider just a moment ago there was at the front of this pack. How did it unfold coming out of that section? He's still in the front of the pack. Izdihar, very, very, very aggressive, cutting to that late inside line into the right-hander of turn 9, and look, he's through. Brilliant manoeuvre then, once again from Andy Izdihar. That starts coming out of turn 6. It's a good line all through 7 and 8. Dives up the inside of 9, and Izdihar moves back in front and takes that second position. Here's the fight then. This is for 6th place. This is Salim versus Yamanaka, side by side at the front of the pack as well. It's Kuni on the left, Izdihar on the right. Very late on the brakes for Masaki. This time Kuni runs it wide. Through goes Izdihar. Almost every single lap without fail now, we're seeing somebody run out wide onto the curbs or even beyond the curbs at that last corner.
Track conditions are quite different to what we've seen all weekend as well, though, Greg, and it is hotter, it is a greasier track surface as the temp rises, and it could be causing a bit of a difficulty for some of the guys. But as well as that, we've seen them set personal best, so the guys are right on the limit. Whenever you're in a group like this and you try and push that little bit further, break a metre or 2 metres later, it makes a big difference and can easily see you run wide like that.
Exactly, just as you say, there's a bit of a case study there. Masaki running very wide indeed, but that actually worked all right that time. He got a decent drive out of the corner, but not as good as Andy Izdihar, who had a much tidier line. And interestingly, this group that was breaking up just a few minutes ago is becoming one solid group again, isn't it? There is Izdihar, number 23. He's now lost another one. Through goes Masaki, through goes Kuni, but this is now becoming again the battle for second, all the way down into 8th position. So 7 riders locked together as they come through the infield section. But Steve, what's going to be going through Somkiat Chantra's mind now? He's 6.3 seconds up the road. He's all on his own. There's no reason to panic, but you've got to keep the concentration up.
He'll just be in time trial mode now, and it is just a case of clicking off the laps, hitting all your brake markers, hit your turn-in points, and just get on the gas and avoid making a mistake. For most riders, it can be quite a challenge whenever you do open a lead like this, because you'll look at his pit board and you'll see 6.5 seconds, and it's very easy just to say that I'll wind back to 95%, I'll wind back to 90%, and whenever you do that, everything changes for you. All your reference points are different, and it's very easy just to have a silly instant. I remember, as we said earlier, Danny Kent last year, he did this an awful lot in Moto3. You saw him open up huge leads, and the key thing for Danny was, I'll keep pushing, and use my own references and just trust that I won't make a mistake. And that's why he was able to maintain his leads and win the races. You see it time and time again in all classes of races. Whenever you've got a big lead, it's very easy just to run slightly wide or brake just a little bit differently compared to normal and just have an incident. So it'll be interesting to see if Chantra can maintain that concentration.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it, watching these races back in 5 or 10 years' time to see whether one of the riders in this field is indeed a Moto3 World Champion by then. There is a direct route up now from the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup into Red Bull Rookies, the CEV. Again, it's all gone wrong there at turn 3. That's Masaki running out wide, and look how quick that can happen. It's changed in the blink of an eye. He's gone all the way down from 2nd to 8th position. Big mistake there then for Masaki, who's dropped all the way down there now into 8th. And don't forget, that's the rider Kazuki Masaki, who finished 3rd in the championship last year. So Agura now resumes this 2nd position, and don't forget, he would be still the championship leader if it stayed like this, but it's changing all the time. It's going to be either Agura or Chantra by the looks of things, who leads the Asia Talent Cup after round 1 here in Thailand, depending of course on where Agura finishes in this group. And this is a big moment actually now in the season for Agura. He won the race yesterday. Those 25 points are banked, they're safe, and he runs very wide coming into turn 9. There's a big difference though. There are 20 points for 2nd place, 8 points for 8th place at the back of this group, so potential 12 points here could be lost for Chantra. He's got to be extremely careful, and what we're seeing now with just over 5 laps to go is certainly what we'll be seeing on the last lap of the race. All of this is a dress rehearsal for that last lap.
Chantra won't be thinking in terms of the Agura, he won't be thinking in terms of the championship at this moment. We're 1 race in, and he'll just be thinking in terms of, I need to get 2nd place, I need to get 3rd place, I need to finish on the podium. Any rider that's thinking in terms of the championship this early in the season, it's very easy just to be a bit tense, be a bit tight, and it leads to mistakes. You need to relax, you need to think in terms of just getting the most wins as possible, the most podiums and the most points as possible, and that's what Agura should be thinking about. That's likely what he is thinking about.
Right at this moment, they're thinking about the breaking point for this very difficult turn 3 hairpin. Agura up the inside of Yamanaka. Kuni's waiting in the wings for something dramatic to happen in front of him. And right in the middle of the group is Andy Istihar. And don't forget, he failed to finish the first race yesterday. We do have 1 retirement from this race, by the way. As you can see now, a 7.3 second lead for this man, Somkiat Chantra. But the sole retirement so far is Ifran Ardian Shah, who we saw high-siding out of turn 9 earlier on. We know he's gone for precautionary reasons, hopefully, more than anything else, off to the medical centre. And if we do hear of anything while we are still on air in the next half hour or so, we will certainly let you know. Chantra then with this huge advantage. This is going to be, by the looks of things, the most dominant race victory we've seen in the Asia Talent Cup. It's the 3rd season of the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup, put together by the FIM Asia and Dorna. It started in 2014 alongside the Qatar Grand Prix for MotoGP, and indeed they have a double header because they'll be going off to Qatar just next weekend for the 3rd and 4th races of the season in 2016. Then it's over to Malaysia alongside World Superbike again in May. There's a big break then until September, and there'll be races 7 and 8 alongside the Pan Delta Series in China, and finally in October 2 races in the space of 3 weeks, Japan and Malaysia, to end the Asia Talent Cup Series alongside MotoGP, as it always does at the end of the season. So we come through to start now with only 4 laps to go, lap 13 of 16 here in Thailand. It's race 2 of round 1 in the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup for 2016. Somkiat Chantra, who won the first race here last year and finished 4th here yesterday after being demoted from 2nd, having gone off the track at the last corner, has a massive lead of 8.7 seconds. It's anyone's guess, though, as to who's going to finish in 2nd place. And here's that fight I talked about earlier, raging here from 9th all the way down to 14th position. This is great stuff going on here. It's Dennis Onsu in 7th position. Up the inside comes Niam Sekonsigal, just putting a move there on Zapata into turn 1. Running wide in the background is Sugawara, but keeps it all together. Also in the middle of this mix is the number 8 rider, Tom Edwards from Australia. Was mentored last year by Colin Stone, who's done a bit of flat track in his time as well. We were talking about him in yesterday's first race of the weekend. He's right in the middle of the mix as well. But competitive then, Steve, all the way down through the field. Okay, this group is a long way behind. They're 26 seconds behind Istihar, who is currently 8, but even so, very competitive. And look, you can see the mature riding going on there from number 8. That was Edwards just signalling to Sugawara behind him. Follow me down these back straight here. There's no point hindering each other. We need to work together. That's what Moto3 Grand Prix racing is all about, and that's where all of these guys want to be in the next few years. In the meantime, then, this is the battle still going on for second.
And Izdihar has fallen back towards the back end of this lead group as well now, Greg. And with 3.5 laps to go, just coming up to 3 laps to go, this is where you really need to start making your moves, get into position for the last lap. And this is where we need to see Izdihar ease his way through, probably get whoever gets into 3rd, 4th position in this group, they're in the ideal place for the last couple of laps.
It's me, 4, 5 abreast almost there, down into turn 12 here in Buriram. It's not every day you get to say that, but only 3 laps to go then now, as the sign clearly says on the starting gantry, and indeed at the top of our screen. Chantra's lead is 9.5 seconds, and he's lapping every single lap a good 7-8 tenths quicker than all of these guys for obvious reasons. Now then, they're getting towards the closing stages of the race, and it's not unusual to see 4 abreast, just like this, down to the right-hander at turn 3. Yamanaka's got the advantage at the moment, and once again, Ayagura, the most adventurous of all of them, all the way around the outside, and there's almost contact, because there was a mistake just in front of them there, and Agura's been pushed out all the way down to 8th position. That could have gone so wrong for Ayagura. He was sensible though, he saw that coming and managed to recover the situation. Now then, the championship leader finds himself with 2.5 laps to go, 8th in this race, and Somkhyat Chantra therefore, if he wins this race, which looks extremely likely, would lead the championship. But look at Agura in the background, all over the curbs, coming around the exit of turn 4. What happens, Steve? This is down into turn 3.
You can just see Cooney just runs a little bit in too deep onto the new asphalt, and he's left with no grip, and basically Agura is just an unlucky guy that is in the wrong place at the wrong time. For Agura, this is what we saw him do yesterday though. He was able to get his way through the pack really quickly, and now he needs to just do that today. But it's a big challenge. You've got 2.5 laps to go, and you've got to get through on 7 people.
This is very, very interesting now. The man who started on pole position, Andy Izdihar, is 7th. The guy who won yesterday's first race, this man, number 9, Agura, is 8th. And their task is to overhaul Yamanaka, Masaki, Kawasaki, Salim and Kuni, and get back up into those 2nd and 3rd positions. And here comes Izdihar then. He's already through on Kuni. That's 1 down. There's another few still to go though, Andy. You've got 2 laps left. At the moment, as they cross the line now to start the penultimate lap, Chantra would lead the series. 5 points from Agura and 6 points ahead of Yamanaka. There'd be a tie then for 4th position. And look how tight this is getting. Down into the right-hander of turn 1. 2 laps to go. Tension rising.
Kawasaki's looking very aggressive now. He looks like he actually wants to get through on these guys as early as possible and try and just allow them to fight with each other and hopefully create a bit of a space for him. But as we saw yesterday, it's very difficult to be able to actually make a break, even whenever there's this amount of fighting going on, because everyone's trying to push through on each other. You see at the back of the pack there, a lot of moves on each other.
Yeah, that was Kuni again almost getting it wrong into turn 3, and Agura saw that coming and avoided his Japanese compatriot by a country mile this time after what happened a lap ago. But only 1.5 laps to go, and at the head of the pack at the moment is Yamanaka, and he's solid in the championship as well, having finished on the podium yesterday. Chantra is now almost 10 seconds ahead of this lot. What a fight going on though here in race 2 of the season in the Asia Talent Cup. Kawasaki now drops all the way down into 7th position.
Yeah, Agura around the outside of him as well. And really, you'd look at this group now, and you think Agura looks like he's the guy that's got the most pace to get through to the lead group. And as we said earlier, Greg, if you're 3rd or 4th in this group right now, that's where you want to be with a couple of laps to go, a lap and a half to go.
Yeah, and where are the aggressive moves going to come? We know Agura is very aggressive into turn 9. Here he is, number 9 into turn 9. Izdihar is number 23 and had a crash just a bit earlier than this in the race yesterday. This man, in the meantime, is saying thank you very much. I don't know how you say thank you very much in Thai, but we'll have to find out, because he's 10.4 seconds in front of the rest of the field. Somkhyat Chantra comes through. A dominant performance so far, and just 1 lap to go. 4.5 kilometres, 2.8 miles of this very familiar to him Chang International Circuit at Buriram in Thailand. He leads into the last lap. Now side by side for 2nd, and this one's going to come surely all the way down to the last corner in about 1 minute and 48 seconds from now. It's Masaki versus Yamanaka, Izdihar, Agura, Kuni and Salim. Kawasaki's at the back of the group at the moment, number 15 in 8th position, but this is the big stop, and you'll expect fireworks. Let's hope not too many. Down into turn 3 for the last time. What's Agura? He's keeping well out of trouble at the moment. Number 9 up the outside line, 3rd bike in the train. Izdihar's on the inside line, and it's all very sensible. Good stuff from everybody then through turn 3. Very good stuff. They've all kept it on the island, and now only 9 corners to go.
And we saw the last couple of laps, Greg, everyone staying down the left-hand side for as long as possible on the run into turn 4, trying to just force everyone to go around the outside of them. Agura, though, slicing his way through the pack up into 3rd position now and really looking like he's the guy that's going to take 2nd.
Here he comes, he's up the inside of Masaki as well. Brilliant move from Agura. He would lead the Asia Talent Cup again now if it stays like this. That's absolutely fantastic. Just a few moments ago he was at the back of this pack in 8th. Now he's 2nd.
And that whole thing is set up from his line through turn 3 as well, Greg. He got good drive on the way out and put him in the right position.
But he's going to have to be very, very careful, isn't he, Steve? Down into the right hand of turn 12 at the end of the lap, because we saw what happened to Istihar there yesterday, and if somebody loses the front end, they could wipe out 2-3 riders. Let's hope it doesn't happen. In the meantime, Somkiat Chantra, oh, there's a massive moment. We were thinking something might happen. One of them's lost so much ground coming out of turn 9. Oh, and Istihar now banging into the side of Yamanaka. Chantra over the line, a dominant victory in Thailand for Somkiat Chantra. But what's happening into turn 12? And it is the advantage for Masaki. Istihar's up the inside, but oh, he's run wide. Agura has run wide and drops down from 2nd to 5th in the last knockings of the race. 4th it was. He just beat Masaki, and that means that Somkiat Chantra and Agura are tied on 38 points going into Qatar next weekend. That was a remarkable finish to the race. Oh, what happened to Agura? I thought he'd got it right, but it's not over yet, because this battle's still going on as well, and this is Dennis Onsu in 7th position, fighting very hard indeed down into the right-hander. Sorry, battle for 9th position. Up the inside comes Tom Edwards. Oh, is he going to get it stopped? Yes, just almost got. Oh dear. Big incident behind. One of them's gone over the top there, coming through turn 12 at the end of the lap. Double wave yellow flags. Thankfully the rider is okay. We said there might be fireworks at the last corner, and there were. A little bit further down the order than we expected. Now that it's a race to get over the line here for Zapata, and if he can get over the line, he will actually pick up a point, as long as the rider's in contact with the bike. Now, can he pick up a point? Because where are the rest of them? They were a big way further back. Listen to the crowd. Is he over the line? Yes! That is the most dramatic point you've ever seen scored, surely, in motorcycle racing. Is he over the line, Steve? He's not registered. Yes, he is. That is absolutely remarkable. Tuiki Zapata scores a point as he runs along the start-finish straight.
Yeah, it's like Nicky Io last year at Aston and Moto3 whenever he high-sided and was sliding across the line just with his hands on the bike. But a great finish to the race there, and unfortunately for Agura, you saw he pushed himself through the last corner, and you're 4 abreast into there, and it's just there's too many bikes going into a small section of the track. But a really, really good race, and Izdihar did really well to get himself back through to the front of that second group.
Yes, he did, and we were expecting Izdihar to go really well, weren't we? Because he lost so many points yesterday. He started on pole position, and he did the sensible thing there, banked a very solid 16 points. But what a dominant performance, you have to say, for Somkiat Chantra. He's picked up 25 points here, and he's up now to 38, and he and Agura are tied. We'll see replays in the moment, I'm sure, of the last corner, just to see exactly what happened to Agura, because he looked okay. He was 2nd. He made it round the last corner, but he ran wide on the exit, and he was thankful not to drop too far further back. Here then, as you say, Steve, is Andy Izdihar. Very mature weekend, you have to say. Of course, it was an unfortunate error for him down at turn 12 yesterday, as they now coast their way back into the pit lane. Dominant win, though, for Chantra. Absolutely incredible. He was 10.2 seconds ahead of everybody else. Massive advantage in any Moto3 race, but particularly in the Asia Talent Cup.
Half a second a lap is a huge margin in Moto3, and you'd imagine in most cases that sponsors would be upset that their bike's not being shown when they're leading the race, but when everyone's got the same sponsors, it's not too big a deal. But a really impressive performance from Chantra. We saw him just ride really smart. He knew he had a bike that in clean air could pull away from people, and he took advantage when the rest of the group started to fight with one another. And once he opened 2nd and a half, there was no chance that you were going to bridge that gap again.
Well, provisional results is coming up here, Steve, on the timing screen, as we can see in the commentary box. I don't know whether that's relating to some of the riders who were so close to each other over the line, or perhaps to the 15th position of Zapata, who was actually running along the start-finish straight. I certainly know in the FIM regulations for the Superbike World Championship and World Super Sports, which are racing here this weekend, that as long as the rider is in some way in contact with the motorcycle over the line, you are okay. So we'll see whether that applies in the Asia Talent Cup.
Well, I was looking out the window to see what was actually happening at the last corner, Greg, and it did look like a couple of guys were running wide out past the white line, just like Chantra did yesterday. So it could well be a case of something like that. When we see a replay of the last corner, hopefully it'll just become a bit clearer for us.
But it was really tight. Istihar was only 0.0 behind Yamanaka. Let's have a look. This is the leading group, well, the fight for second. So, is anybody actually off the... Well, look, they're all over the white line. Istihar, Agura. I think they're all right, don't you? They're on the curbs.
Yeah, no issue there. So it could just be something further back. Obviously, it was a lead group of 8, so it'll just be... it could be a case of waiting just to confirm everything.
Oh, provisional result has disappeared from the screen now, so you have to imagine these are the full results. Chantra, there's no doubt about that. Absolutely marvellous performance. And he's been in the Honda Racing Championship in Thailand and the Asian version of that championship over the last few times. Had a couple of wins as well. 5 wins, actually, to be in total for him in those Honda Championships over the last few years. Third in the Honda Racing Championship of Thailand in both 2012 and 2013. And a real talent here in Thailand, and for the second year in a row then he has won, yes indeed, at home here at the Chang International Circuit. Now then, let's look to see what happened here in the closing stages of the race. This indeed did prove to be the race winning overtake. It's not the closing stages of the race, it's so much earlier, and Chantra at this stage was ahead and they wouldn't see him again. He was 10.2 seconds up the road by the time the race ended.
So Chantra take the lead there, but basically just take advantage of the midsection of the track then and open a gap before we got back to the long straight on the run from turn 1 to turn 3. And once you're out of slipstream range, it's very difficult to make up that time again, especially whenever the group don't work together. They're trying to fight with each other, and that's basically just what opened the door for Chantra, and it's what's allowed him to move to the top of the championship standings alongside Agura on 38 points.
Yeah, 2 real talents. Somkiat Chantra, number 18 from Thailand, 17 years of age. Agura, number 9 from Japan, 15 years of age. And here is Andy Istihar. Went very well last season. Won that race, if you remember, an absolutely incredible finish to the race in Qatar when 4 riders were side by side. And in that particular duel, Istihar took 2 helpings of slipstream and dived out, dived back in behind another rider, dived back out again at just the right time and won that race. It was a really well-timed victory for Istihar with that one race he won last season. Actually made his debut in the Asia Talent Cup in 2014 as a wild card in Indonesia and finished 10th there, so there was always promise for him right from the very beginning. A few standout performances further back as well, because we know all about Chantra, Yamanaka and Istihar who were on the podium. We know all about Agura, who was 4th again, ironically. Masaki, Salim, Kawasaki was 7th and always in the mix. Kuniz had a really strong opening weekend and finished 8th. Dennis Onsu was the first of the Onsu twins, and they're both mentored by Kenan Sofoglu, 4-time world supersport champion. Tom Edwards, really solid top 10 there, Steve, for Tom Edwards. Niam Sekonsipal, who is the oldest rider in the race at the ripe old age of 20, finished 11th from Sugawara. The other Onsu brother, that's Kan. Idaham Khairuddin was 14th from Zapata. Here's the full rundown then, but just look at the gap. Absolutely massive there. Dominant victory then, Steve, for Somkiat Chantra, 10.2 ahead.
Yeah, huge margin of victory for Chantra. And if you look at down the field, there was lots of groups, as we said, Greg. You look at the battle from 2nd through the 8th, only 3 seconds splitting them, and then from 9th all the way down to 13th, we had a really good scrap just for the last couple of points as well.
We now can confirm that this result has been confirmed, so that's the full results we're seeing here down the screen. Hatin Sofoglu picks up his first finish. It's a shame because yesterday he was taken out in an incident on the last lap with Niam Sekonsikal over at turn 7. Would have scored points, but at least Sofoglu's got a finish under his belt. Yanseen, we saw some issues for him earlier in the race. Law Kin Chun as well, and of course Ardian Shah, let's hope he's okay, because that was a big high side, as you can see, about lap 7 it was of the race over at the right-hander of turn 9. So as you can see, they've ventured across the track on the golf buggy. They make their way now up the path towards the podium. It's actually not part of the main grandstand here, the podium. It's on the other side of the track. And stay tuned, by the way, if you're looking for more motorcycle racing action from Thailand this afternoon, because the FAM Supersport World Championship Round 2 is coming up in just about an hour from now. Less than 1 hour from now. 40 minutes from now. Supersport underway here in Thailand. Jules Cluzel looking to pick up his first victory of the season from pole position. And then later on, can Jonathan Ray at 4 p.m. local time, which is just over 2 hours from now, become the first world superbike rider since Neil Hodgson in 2003 to have won the opening 4 races of one season. Meantime, here in the Asia Talent Cup, it's Chantra, Yamanaka and Izdihar first, second and third. And what a prospect, Steve, going into Qatar next weekend with 2 riders tied for the championship lead. Yamanaka's only 2 behind Chantra and Ogura. He's third overall. Salim and Masaki complete the championship top 5. And this main grandstand here is absolutely superb. We're looking down from our window, which is just a few hundred metres after the finish line, which we've seen so much action around already this weekend. And this grandstand alone sits 12,000 people, and it is sitting 12,000 people because it's an absolute sellout here, I'm told, this afternoon. 6-day working week in Thailand, so this really is the weekend now for everybody. It's great to see how popular this venue has already become. It staged its first World Superbike and Asia Talent Cup races here only last year. Everybody a winner in many ways on the podium. Izdihar third, first points of the season, 16 of them to be precise, 20 for Yamanaka, who is third overall, and a dominant victory for the man in the middle of the rostrum here, Somkiat Chantra, 10.5 seconds in front of the rest of the field. Brilliant stuff from Izdihar and Yamanaka for Indonesia and for Japan, respectively. Listen for this cheer. The Thai crowd sees the home winner again. And now, of course, they get to hear the home national anthem here in Thailand. Congratulations to Somkiat Chantra. It's his second victory in 2 years here at the Chang International Circuit, and that means thanks to himself and Nakarinatura Puvapat, who won the first race of the season here last year. They've had 3 Thai winners in 4 Asia Talent Cup races here at the Chang International Circuit, so I think it's fair to say they're pretty pleased. 3 different nations then represented in the top 3. Thailand, most importantly for everybody here, Indonesia and indeed Japan. Here's how the championship looks going to Qatar next weekend. It's a tie between Chantra and Ogura at the top of the table, 38 points apiece, and Chantra jumping up there 3 positions from yesterday. Yamanaka very much in the mix. A podium yesterday for him and another one today, a third and a second. Salim and Masaki complete the top 5. Kuni, really strong debut, well done. Kawasaki in the mix all afternoon. Izdihar, he will be very disappointed, having started on pole position to only be 8th in the championship in front of Dennis Onsu. Tom Edwards completes the top 10, and brilliant stuff. 17 of the riders scoring points here this weekend. So the red lights went out and the second race of the Shell Advance Asia Talent Cup commenced at Chang on Sunday afternoon. Izdihar wheeled his way away from pole position, but he was fine and led the pack down into turn 1. But it wasn't long until we had a breakaway at the front of the race, but little did we know at the time we were about to see the race-winning overtake as Somkiat Chantra dived through underneath Yamanaka into turn 4 and would soon pull out a 10.2 second lead. Turn 3 was a real hot spot for more than one reason. Numerous times we saw riders running wide and almost wiping others clean out of the race. But thankfully, that didn't happen. And Dominant victory in Thailand for Chantra. He's joint championship leader with Agura as we head to Qatar in 2 weeks' time. To the delight of the Thai crowd, Somkiat Chantra wins here in Thailand. But there was an almighty battle going on for second position. Agura won the battle, but who would win the war further back? And it really was a war in the fight for second position. Into the last corner, we knew it was all going to kick off. Istihar was up the inside and trying to avoid what happened to him yesterday. Agura, number 9 on the outside. Over the line they all went, locked together. But Somkiat Chantra wins in Thailand. Himself and Agura tied in points after round 1 of the Asia Talent Cup in 2016. The action continues next weekend in Qatar.